My name is Bill Higgs, Fire Chief of the Sechelt Fire Department. Today we are going to demonstrate the effectiveness of fire sprinkler systems. What we're going to do is pit one sprinkler head against a fully equipped municipal fire department. We're standing on one side of an identical layout duplex. Here we have the point of origin for a typical structural fire. As you can see, we have half a couch, and it might look a little odd, but on the other side of the duplex we have the other half. Our fire will start here in a typical wastepaper basket, and the material that it spreads to is identical in every way. We have the same curtain on the other side, the same wall paneling on the other side, and like I said, we have the same couch on the other side. This side of the building we're going to let burn to demonstrate normal fire progression, but on the other side, as you will see in a minute, is equipped with a jury-rigged NFPA 13D system with quick response heads. We'll go to the other side of the building now and compare what we have so you can see how fair we have been in this test. Okay, as you might recognize, here's our identical layout. This duplex is an exact duplicate side to side. It's a mirror image layout so that we can be as fair as possible as far as fire spread within the two duplexes. Again, we have identical curtains, identical wall paneling with the identical flame spread rating, and here's the other half of the couch that you saw on the other side. On the ceiling, you'll see a very jury-rigged NFPA 13D system. It will be charged with one of our pumper trucks. It is a two-head system, and like I say, it's designed just for temporary use. And we're fully expecting and hoping that this head here will discharge and suppress the fire once it becomes apparent in the room that there is a fire. So our test will begin shortly, but before we do that, maybe we'll go outside of the building and just so we can have a look at the outside of the building.
Okay, this building was donated for this event. Tell us a little bit about the building itself.
Well, Steve, it's same square footage side by side, and you can see right down the middle there's a firewall where my fingertips are, and very rare opportunity to test the effectiveness of fire sprinkler systems.
You were really careful to be fair on both sides of the room to make sure the fire was set equally.
That's right. We're going to go next door and start the fires, and we'll explain a bit more on exactly how it was done.
Okay, I hear on the radio they've lit that fire. Just how strict were you to be fair in this test?
Well, Steve, we were very fair. We had 20 sheets of paper per bucket as it was lit there, and we lit the fire by using portable radios, and we did a countdown from 10 down to 1, and at 1 we struck a match and lit the paper in the buckets. So about as fair as you can be.
Okay, it's just starting to get going here a little bit now, and we've been looking back and forth to the room. This is the room with no sprinkler, and this is the room with a sprinkler.
That's right, and you can see it's burning normal fire progression, and in fact the couch is just starting to get on fire here a bit, and might have some vertical extension happening pretty quick.
Okay.
Chief, from Assistant Chief, our sofa's starting to burn here, so we're going to vacate.
Right, our sofa just ignited also.
Okay, now there's just been a communication on the radio that the sofas in both rooms are starting to ignite at almost exactly the same point in time.
That's right, and we were very fortunate for it to be this way, and we planned that the fire would be spread as fairly as possible.
Would a house on fire be reported to the fire department at this point, do you think?
Only in the best case scenario. It's very rare that someone actually witnesses a fire start. Let's watch this sprinkler head that you see at the top of the screen.
Okay, and the time at the bottom is from the point of ignition. Okay, just a minute and 30 seconds into the fire. That sprinkler head triggered, and we can see the other room burning in the box in the small right-hand corner there.
That's right. That's the unsprinkled side, of course, and even at this point, you can see the bit of the flame going across the ceiling. The steam generated from the activation of the sprinkler head on the sprinkled side is coming out the window now. It's not really smoke, that's steam, and the fire is pretty well suppressed.
Be a big relief for anyone in the building at that point in time.
That's right. You could even be in that room, and you'd be all right. You'd be wanting to get out of there, but you'd be fine.
Okay, now here we are. This is the unsprinkled side. I assume the sprinkler on the other side continues to spray?
That's correct. NFPA 13 says one of their rules is that the water source has to run for 10 minutes, so we decided to run it for 10 minutes. And so at about 15 gallons a minute, over 10 minutes, still you wouldn't have a lot of water in the room.
No, that's 150 gallons of water.
That's right, and that's nothing compared with what we're going to put on the fire once the fire department gets there. Our typical hand lines are set at 60 or 95 gallons a minute, and we use several thousand gallons of water.
This was a nighttime call in the middle of the night. What's the likelihood of this fire being recognized even at this point in time by a neighbor?
Well, not very good by a neighbor. Certainly in the building, if you had a smoke alarm, the smoke alarm would be going right about now. And if you didn't hear that and react instantly, and you're upstairs above this fire, as the layout of this house indicates, you'd be in big trouble. You'd be having to get out right now.
A lot of heat in this room right now.
That's right. At the upper levels, the temperatures is beyond, even in this room, the temperature is beyond surviving. And as you can see, we've got free open burning, and up at the ceiling, the flames are running across the ceiling, and it's heating up everything in the room to its ignition temperature. And you'll see, I think at about 4 minutes, you have a phenomenon called flashover, and that's where everything in the room is heated to its ignition temperature, and all that stuff instantly combusts, and you'll see it here in the next few seconds.
The air burns.
Pretty well, that's
Yeah.
right. All those unburned hydrocarbons in the air, they all ignite at once, and you'll see it happen here in probably about 10 seconds.
There's no smoke coming out of the windows.
No, but the windows are intact, and that top one's going.
And that's flashover right there, isn't it?
You'll see as soon as she comes out, look at that. Now that's 4 minutes from ignition, and this is again a best case scenario. There's not a lot of fuel load in this room. You know, this house is scheduled for demolition, and we brought a bit of furniture in just to give it a normal fuel load.
Now I can hear the windows breaking. This would probably be a first alert to a neighbor, someone nearby, someone else in the house if there was no smoke alarm.
That's right, Steve. You know, and this is typically when a fire maybe at night might get noticed by a neighbor. They get woken up, and commonly we hear in the fire service that the first indication is someone heard a bang, and it's usually these windows coming out and the flames coming out. And now the fire department has to be called, they have to be paged, they have to respond to the hall, and they have to drive to the fire. And again, best case scenario, this is downtown Sechelt. We'd be 10 minutes from the time someone picked up the phone by the time we got on the scene.
Mm-hmm. So we're 5 minutes in now, so not until this fire had been burning continuously for 15 minutes would the fire department likely arrive.
That's right, and I've been on lots of these fires, and it's not a very nice situation to arrive on at 2 or 3 in the morning when you've just been torn out of your bed, and God help you if you're stuck in that building. There's not much chance for survival, as you can very graphically see here.
What's going on in the other room now, the sprinkled side?
Well, the sprinkle side, the fire is suppressed. It has been for over 3 minutes now, and anyone in that side is fine. The owner of the building, if they want to, although they're not advised to, they can actually shut the sprinkler system off. And although it's not recommended, it's recommended to let the fire department do that once they arrive. But as you can see, the free burning side here, that's a very unfriendly atmosphere for a fire department to arrive in, and very unfriendly for the people if they happen to be trapped in those upstairs bedrooms.
Compared to the person on the other side of the wall who's got a little bit of water to clean up.
That's right, that's right. The other rooms aren't infected at all. There's no smoke damage. The only bit of water damage is right in the one room where the one sprinkler head went off. And you know, we do have to emphasize that these sprinkler heads are thermally activated. So only the one head went off, and it took a fair bit of flame for that to happen. So the old myth that they go off by themselves, or they go off by when the smoke alarm goes off, it's just not true.
The firefighters are standing around watching. Why is that?
Well, we fully intended to let the side burn there because we wanted to show how the fire would be in say 10 minutes time when we arrived. The natural instinct for these firefighters, of course, is to put the fire out, and we'll show you a little later on what it would be like when we do arrive, and we'll attempt to suppress the fire using a typical fire ground hand line, but it won't be very successful because the fire basically right now has consumed the whole side.
Okay, 7 minutes in, we made the call to the fire department at 4 minutes. Firefighters are arriving at the fire hall now.
Just about. Yeah, we've got some firefighters that live pretty close, and at night we can be out of the hall in about 4 minutes. So yeah, we'd be arriving at the hall now, and it'd be about another minute to get turnout gear on, get the trucks rolling, and our mini pumper would be the first one out the door. And this house here is probably a mile away from the fire station, so it would be a driving time of another minute or so. And so it's crucial. You know, no fire department can be as fast as that sprinkler head on the other side of the room there. It went off when the fire touched it. It's basically like a career firefighter sitting on that ceiling 24 hours a day protecting your property. And there's no fire department, be it career or volunteer, that can compete with that type of fire protection.
The cost of the sprinkler system itself compared to the cost of damage, there's just no comparison.
No comparison at all. No, that's another myth, that sprinkler systems cost too much money. They do cost money, that's for sure. But if you want to talk about cost, there's lots of ways to quantify it. You know, look at the cost to the people in the unsprinkled side there. The cost of the damage to their house. The cost of fire protection is another big one. If the more structures that have sprinkler systems in them, the least amount of fire protection you need, or the lower amount of fire protection you need. So the cost of the savings to the community in fire protection. Certainly there's, as far as risk management goes, I'd rather much be a fire department showing up on this side of the building than this side of the building. You know, it's a cost to risk. There's a lot of ways to quantify it. But about $1.50 per square foot in a house is what a sprinkler system costs to install. And you've got the Cadillac of fire protection.
Mm-hmm. They're not attractive in the building that you put it, the installation you made.
No, Steve, you're right. No, that was a jury rig system, and as you can see that line going up the wall there, that's actually the line that's feeding the system. But today, sprinkler heads are very pleasing to the eye. They can be actually flush mounted in the ceiling, and they can be color coordinated to your decor. So there's no reason. The type of sprinkler heads that you see hanging down maybe in a mall or a factory or something, those are for commercial use, and yeah, they are kind of ugly, but the ones that you get in your home now are really quite pleasing to the eye.
The fire department's arriving.
Yeah, best case scenario, the fire department could be arriving now, and again, that would be best case scenario. A lot of times we don't get to the fire until it's through the roof, and even if we arrive now, as you can see, the whole side has been consumed, the whole side of the building, and the flames now are coming out the other side of the building, and anyone in this building has been dead for about 6 minutes. So it's a pretty sad situation to show up at 2 or 3 in the morning and have to deal with this. So that's why the fire service is such a promoter of fire sprinkler systems, because there's just no comparison on the amount of fire protection you get.
There's flames starting to come out the windows in the upper floors now. The fire on the other side of the building's been out now for 8 minutes.
That's correct.
This building's just completely destroyed.
And everyone and everything in it have been dead for, like I say, 6 or 7 minutes now. So it's not a joke, and it's really something the fire service is working on. Is how do we solve this problem? How do we get in and suppress that fire before it looks like this? And the only way we can do it is with fire sprinkler systems.
Okay, let's take a little bit of a time jump and let this fire progress for another 7 or 8 minutes and see what happens.
Great.
Okay, it's been nearly 16 minutes now. The fire department's just about to make their initial attack. Now, this is a practice burn for you, so you're not going to be really serious about putting it out right away, but this gives the people that are watching a pretty good idea of the stage of this fire when the fire department arrives.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. And you can see the firefighters attacking it with an 1.5-inch hand line, and they're knocking it down a bit, but they're not having a whole lot of success. And nor would we really if once we got on the scene. It would take a lot more water than this to darken it down. And that's typically what the fire department arrives to when they arrive on the scene. You see the fire apparatus set up there.
Home sprinkler fire systems. It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
You bet. It's the way to go, and I think it's the way the fire service is going to have to evolve if we're going to get a handle on our fire deaths and fire losses in British Columbia. And that's certainly the way I'm leaning.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Steve.